You'll see that we are a very visible bunch here. So if you're comfortable with it and in a place where you can join us on video, I'd love to see you. We would love to see you. Our next session, our next live English session will be next Monday, October 10th with Jacqueline Fitch. She really is an outstanding meditation guide. So please do join us if your calendar permits it. This week, Jacqueline will be going over how we can let go and how letting go will foster peace and contentment in our lives, living with Parkinson's or affected by Parkinson's disease. And also next Wednesday, we're not having a Wellness Wednesday to acknowledge Yom Kippur. So we'll be coming together next Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday, social engagement, improvisation. Should be lots of fun. And our next Fitness Friday, our live one, will be streamed on October 21st, featuring the Massachusetts General Hospital, cardio, balance, and multitasking. Our regional care partner summits are coming back finally in person, and you can join us online if you don't see a city listed up there near you. Myself and Jennifer will be present in Atlanta on November 5th. I'll be leading a live mindfulness session. You'll also hear from me if you're streaming your care partner summit through the comfort of your home. I'll be recording a session for our care partners, for my colleagues and their events across the nation. And always, always, always reference our website. We have so much information, pages and pages of content for people with Parkinson's, health professionals, anybody wanting to learn more about Parkinson's disease. If you would need to talk with somebody, we have Parkinson's specialists on our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO. And you can certainly call the email us at helpline@parkinson.org. So that's housekeeping. How's everyone doing today? I'm gonna open up my chat function, see how you doing. The fall is here, right? We're welcoming a new season. Got a thumbs up reaction. Thanks, Jen. Pull up that chat again. Yeah, so with the fall, oftentimes things start moving pretty quickly. I know for me, at the Parkinson's Foundation, we have events going on almost every weekend, whether it's educational, whether it's fundraising, whether it's social. We have so much going on at the Parkinson's Foundation. And so we often refer to the fall and spring as event season. So there's lots going on. I'm feeling busy, right? Feeling busy. Stressful week with storms. Yes, huge moment of gratitude for those who are living in Southwest Florida, for those who might have experienced the winds in Charleston, South Carolina. Just know that you were being thought of. Nice day here in Oakland. Slow, getting better, getting started, but moving better now. Good to hear that. Good. There's been a pattern that comes up in my life frequently, and you guys know that whatever I'm feeling and experiencing, I like to share and offer kind of a formal practice around what I'm personally going through. And so I hope this topic resonates with you. We're going to be talking about responding versus reacting. So I'll start by just defining the two, which is really interesting because the definition kind of holds the word of itself and the definition. So response versus reaction. A reaction is an action or a feeling experienced in response to a situation or event. So a reaction is an action or a feeling experienced in response to a situation or event. So on the other side of that versus, right, is response. The definition of a response is a reaction to something. So it's really interesting that the two words, reaction versus response, holds the very word that I'm trying to delineate from one another. So let's explore what the difference is between responding and reacting. So a reaction is instinctive, and it's charged by emotions. It's driven by the unconscious mind. That's why we often seem to react without thinking, right? That's a common phrase that we like to use. I reacted without thinking. A reaction is based entirely in the heat of the moment or the coolness of the moment as it's cooling down across the country. When you react, you rarely consider those long-term consequences of your actions. So a reaction is charged by emotion. A response occurs often once you consider a desired outcome. So something happens, a situation, an event, a conversation, and you take a little while to sit back and think, okay, what do I want out of this? How could I benefit? How does this resonate with my value and my core of my life? In most cases, when you respond to a situation or reaction, you think about those long-term consequences or benefits. And so a response usually aligns with your core values. Give it time and space before you have a reaction to what may have happened. So thinking about the brain a little bit, reactions, and responses are fueled by different parts of the brain. Makes sense because we're having a physical and a different level of physical and mental capacity versus reacting and responding. So a reaction is fueled by the reptilian brain. Has anybody heard about the reptilian brain at all? And though this is a part of the brain that's mainly concerned with self-preservation. So we're more primitive. The reptilian brain is non-rational, and it thinks about the self-interested behaviors. So what can I do that's going to avoid harm, conflict, and keep me alive? It's definitely your survival part of the brain. And a lot of people, this is a common phrase, the fight or flight response. This is our reptilian brain, which sparks up when we sense danger or conflict, okay? Our autopilot behaviors are also controlled in that part of the reptilian brain. Our response is fueled by the more evolved part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, right? This big part of the brain right in the front. Prefrontal cortex is responsible for those complex thoughts. We know that it houses our cognitive behavior, our decision-making, our personality expression, and moderating our social behavior. So responding can be challenged by people with Parkinson's because that executive function, that cognitive behavior, can be manipulated by Parkinson's disease. When we react, we're at the mercy of our emotions. Our reptilian brain, that fight or flight survival instinct, makes that knee-jerk reaction based on how we feel in the moment. I feel bad, so I'm going to react bad. I feel really, really happy and joyous. I'm going to act and behave very dramatically about that. Often when we do this, those consequences of reacting can be negative. They can. In the event of reacting, we often sense that we're not acting like ourselves. That's because reactions are spontaneous and not based on conscious moral or values. When we respond, we're in the driver's seat. We are in control of our thoughts. We use logic to consider the consequences for ourselves and perhaps even consider the consequences of those around us. We make decisions based on existing values. And although we might not always make the correct decision, we're at least putting our intelligence to work. In most cases, the result is better when we respond. Why don't people respond more than they react? And it's pretty simple. I just told you how we respond, what it takes to respond. Reacting is just a lot easier. It's a lot easier. When we react, we involve almost zero brain power. It's, again, that autopilot, this learned behavior that's deeply ingrained in our habits and our patterns of reaction. You don't have self-control. You don't have to use the mental strength of that executive functioning, that prefrontal cortex, to think about consequences, to think about benefits, to think about different scenarios of how we'll respond to an event or a situation, because your brain's on autopilot. So I was doing research about, responding versus reacting. I wanted to make sure we defined what autopilot means, because this is a common word that's thrown around, but I love definitions, right? Let's get down to what it really means. Autopilot. People develop habits to deal with complex tasks in different areas of their everyday life. So again, autopilot is related to habits. As a result, we go on autopilot and do these things without really thinking. So waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, taking your pills, eating breakfast, going for your walk, picking up the kids from school, things that just kind of happen in your life. You're on autopilot. You don't have to think about it. Putting your seatbelt on, starting the car, and just changing the gears, right? The ability to act without really thinking happens when a behavior becomes overlearned. It's our default course of action to react because your brain likes using as little energy as possible. Your reptilian brain will let you sleepwalk through life if we let it. This is why we're here. This is why we practice mindful meditation, so we can step out of autopilot and be really present in our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and body. When we respond, we must overpower the natural urge to react. This involves self-awareness and mental strength. Self-awareness and mental strength. A lot of us, including myself, don't have that self-awareness or mental strength to respond versus react. And sometimes we do have that self-awareness and strength, and we just don't feel like exerting the brain and exerting our bodies to think about a response and just react. This is especially true when we're stressed or fatigued, and that's even more likely in Parkinson's disease. Naturally, in Parkinson's, we feel more fatigued, we feel more apathetic, and we might even be feeling symptoms of depression, low mood. So this is something to think about when we start cultivating a response versus reactive behavior style. In some cases, it can be better to react versus responding. Oh, but Crista, you just went on for 5 minutes telling me how I need to think about responding. Reacting is often linked to our fight or flight mechanism, and that is responsible for keeping us safe and alive. When we're in danger, we automatically react to protect ourselves. How do we stop someone from reacting when it doesn't serve our relationships or our life or the situation that we might be presenting in our day-to-day? We have to be able to notice when we're about to react. That can be common in Parkinson's disease, is to react because we start to lose control of our progression. We start to lose control of ability or capacity to do things that we used to love. And so reacting can be a lot easier than choosing to control the response in any situation. Our mindful meditation practice teaches us to separate ourselves from our thoughts. I was listening to a podcast from Tara Brach, and she said, remember, you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. And so when we meditate frequently, we start to develop this ability to witness these thoughts. You have thoughts going on right now. You are not those thoughts. I call it the inner dialogue, right? That chat that we just do with ourselves seemingly on autopilot. When we notice these thoughts, we can separate ourselves from them and then decide whether or not to act upon them or kind of let them blow away, like the autumn leaves right now on the trees. They're just blowing away. We learn to pay attention to our body and become more self-aware of sensation. So one sensation that many of us can identify with is anger. How do you feel? What happens in your body when you start to feel angry? For me, my palms get sweaty. I'm not a very angry person at all, so my body has a hard time processing the emotion of anger. So I get anxious when I'm angry. My palms get sweaty. My heart starts to palpitate. It's almost like I've drank a whole bunch of coffee and I don't know what to do with all that energy, right? So we start to become aware of body sensations. And when we can take note of how the body's reacting to an event, situation, person, statement, I notice, oh, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. Okay, what does that mean? Alluding back to Dr. Rush's session last week, if you were with us, Dr. Rush mentioned mindful naming of emotions. When you are able to acknowledge those, so much awareness happens in that thought of naming an emotion and then further naming what's happening in the body. That can help us decide how to respond mindfully. So there's a 5-step exercise that I want to share with you guys, and it's an acronym that can help us control those emotions and how we react or respond. It can be remembered by using the acronym PLACE, like person, place, or thing. So the word is place, P-L-C-E. The P, if you know me, stands for pause. The moment you notice your emotions are changing, pause and breathe. I had someone just write to me, autopilot tasks where things like walking are getting much challenging, more difficult with Parkinson's disease. This is where that moment of pause can be really beneficial. Pause and breathe. The L in place stands for label your emotions. Again, referring to Dr. Rush's session she had with us last week on being able to name those emotions. Label your emotions. Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you grieving? It's easier to process an emotion when you are consciously able to put a name on it. And then the A in our acronym of place, ask. Ask yourself, why? Why are you about to react? What is making you want to react? Be as detailed as possible. I've had to do this quite a few times in recent weeks. Why do I want to have this conversation, send that email? Why do I want to go and do this? This question can help you identify and deal with subconscious distress or even suffering. It can also help you realize that it'd be silly to react. Time and time again, I can't tell you, when I've used this acronym PLACE and I ask myself why, I think, gosh, might be bring me more peace to not even react at all. Why? Ask yourself why. The C in our acronym, choose. Choose a mindful response. Ask yourself, what is your desired outcome? Then choose from a list of responses that might get you there. So you're having a conversation with your spouse about driving, thinking about the different scenarios. What are the consequences? What are the benefits? And then choosing the conversation, the path of the conversation that you'd like to have. And finally, E, empower yourself. When you become more mindfully responsive, you'll notice how much better it makes you feel to respond from a place of mindfulness instead of reacting out of the negative, almost animalistic reaction, emotion. Give yourself a pat on the back for taking time to pause, label, ask why, and choosing. Jennifer, if you could pull up our slide 11, so we can share table side by side, what it looks like to react versus respond. So reacting occurs instantly, and reacting is also emotionally charged. Reacting is driven by the subconscious mind, so we don't really know that we're doing it. Reacting is also done without thinking, so there's no mental strength behind how we're responding to a situation. We're just reacting. There's no regard for long-term consequences, and it's often out of character. Sometimes, too, when we react, there it is. Oh, it's okay, I got it. People want the visual. I got it, Jen. Bear with me, guys. Okay, can we see it? Yeah, Margaret, I see your head first. Yeah, okay. All right, so reaction on the left-hand side. It's often out of character. So again, that statement, I reacted without thinking. And then you can often regret the decision to react later. Response occurs more slowly. It takes time because your brain has to think about things. You're more calm. I like to be in a place of calm. I don't know about you guys, but I certainly appreciate it. And it's driven by the conscious mind. So you're making an effort to make a decision. It involves much thought and reasoning. It's based on long-term consequences, and you pull in your morals, your core values of life. And you rarely regret a response versus a reaction. So we've got a few moments left, and I want to just take a few moments to breathe, give you guys a chance to notice the thoughts that you're having in those few moments that we'll have together. And you be the driver of that seat, deciding whether or not to engage with those thoughts or to let them go. So you're going to either react to the thought that you're having, go down that spiral of, I need to do this, this, and this, or I feel this way. My husband didn't do that, and I need to do that, and da 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 da. See if you can catch yourself going down that rabbit hole and come back and respond, breathe, take a few moments, a moment of pause. So find a seat, whatever's comfortable for you. You can be lying down too, somewhere where you're just alert and attentive and focused. Good. I always like to shrug the shoulders up, feel that tension, and then let the shoulders drop down the back. You might feel yourself starting to feel a little sense of relaxation wash over your body. You can close the windows of your eyes if that's okay with you. We're not going anywhere. We're still here. Softening the abdomen, letting the belly be big. And just starting to breathe into your body. Turning off autopilot and just allowing yourself to be present here in your body with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. To be present with any discomfort you might be feeling. Breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth or the nose, doesn't matter. Noticing how you might be reacting to this moment of stillness, however still your body might be or not be. Are you reacting or are you responding? Reacting looks like, oh, this is so boring. Why does she make me breathe? Responding is interesting. My breath is a little shallow. I'm feeling a little apprehensive to what she's asking me to do. Breathing in and breathing out. Pausing, taking a breath, labeling your emotions or your reaction. Asking yourself why. Choosing to engage or let go. And using that mindful moment of pausing to empower yourself. Viktor Frankl writes, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. A little sparkle of the toes and fingers, a roll of the shoulders, a rotation of the neck. Maybe you open the eyes, take a deep swallow. And welcoming back, opening the windows of your eyes. Put you guys in gallery view so I can see you. Good. It takes 1.5 minutes for an emotion to come and to go. Unless, of course, you're having thoughts that keep fueling that emotion. Jill Bolte Taylor. That was a quote from Jill Bolte Taylor. I'll leave you guys with this. Fred Durst. When I look back on my knee-jerk reactions now, I realize I should have just taken a breath. And connect with you have you also